Most people walk into the world wearing a version of themselves that is slightly edited, slightly polished, and slightly more acceptable than the raw truth beneath. This editing process may look harmless, but it contains a deep psychological logic. Human beings are social animals who crave connection, respect, attraction, and safety. Being accepted by others used to determine whether we lived or died. Now it determines whether we belong or remain alone. So even in modern cities, surrounded by technology and abundance, our nervous system still negotiates social survival the way ancient tribes once did. If they like me, I'm safe. If they reject me, I'm at risk. This instinct creates a quiet tension inside social life. You want to be understood, but you also want to be liked. You want authenticity, but you also want approval. And few people ever manage to achieve both at the same time. So most individuals compromise. They selectively show certain traits, conceal others, exaggerate strengths, soften weaknesses, and adjust their behavior depending on the social environment. A teenager does it to avoid embarrassment. An employee does it to remain competent. A host does it to maintain charm. The self you present becomes a negotiation between how you actually are and how you should appear in order to remain socially acceptable. Psychologists call this self-presentation. It is not inherently manipulative. It is simply the art of managing impressions so that others interpret your presence in a favorable way. Wearing a clean outfit, speaking politely, pretending to be interested, suppressing irritation, offering a smile, these behaviors are strategies designed to maintain the fragile social bridge that keeps people connected. Even children intuitively learn these skills before they understand the words for them. When a child performs well in front of guests, or when they hide tears to appear stronger, they are practicing the earliest versions of impression management. However, as people grow older, the editing becomes more complex. Adults do not merely hide emotions. They create entire identities. The competent professional, the charming guest, the unbothered friend, the intellectual, the polite listener, and so on. These identities operate like masks, reliable enough to carry through interactions, but fragile enough to collapse when external pressures intensify. Social media amplifies this dynamic further. People curate photos that seem spontaneous but are staged, post opinions that sound authentic but strategic, and present lifestyles that look effortless but are filtered. Everyone performs, and everyone watches everyone perform, without fully acknowledging the performance. Underneath all of this lies a psychological trade. Authenticity is emotionally expensive while acceptance is socially valuable. If you show your true vulnerability, you risk judgment. If you hide it, you gain approval, but at the price of inner distance. Many feel this gap silently. People like me, but they don't actually know me. Some even become skilled enough at acting that they forget what they suppressed in the first place. They lose access to their original emotional reactions and adopt their social identity as their default self. This tension is not a mistake. It is a survival mechanism. In the modern world, we rarely need to fight for food or territory, but we constantly fight for reputation, belonging, and psychological safety. And the nervous system takes that fight very seriously. When people attempt to present a controlled social image, their facial muscles become the battlefield between intention and biology. The face is not simply a decoration. It is a densely wired communication device powered by cranial nerves, muscular micro movements, and evolutionary instincts that predate written language by hundreds of thousands of years. Long before humans formed sentences, We use facial tension, eye position, eyebrow movement, and micro smiles to signal threat, attraction, submission, belonging, and confusion. This ancient channel of communication still operates today beneath the polite layers of modern etiquette. The irony is that while people try to control their emotional output, their biology occasionally leaks accurate information. A person may try to smile politely, but the orbicularis oculi muscle around the eyes may refuse to contract, producing the uncanny fake smile effect. The lips may stretch, but the eyes don't follow. Conversely, genuine amusement almost always causes involuntary eye crinkles, tiny folds and creases that reveal joy regardless of how much someone wants to stay composed. Even infants show this distinction long before they learn social conventions. Eye behavior is especially revealing. When someone experiences authentic comfort or affection, blinking tends to slow, gaze tends to stabilize, and the eyelids relax. When discomfort, anxiety, or a social threat enters the nervous system, the opposite occurs. Blinking accelerates, eye movements become rapid, scanning behavior increases, and facial muscles tighten. These changes occur faster than conscious awareness can manage, which is why trained observers, interviewers, negotiators, detectives, even experienced nurses can often detect incongruence between what a person says and what they actually feel. However, these signals are probabilistic, not absolute. They do not provide certainty, but they reveal direction. A short-lived smile may hint at tension more than appreciation. A quick gaze aversion may indicate fear of evaluation rather than disinterest. People who master social camouflage learn to minimize these leaks, but even they rarely eliminate them entirely. And when they do, the very absence of signal becomes a new signal, just as perfect stillness in nature often indicates the presence of the predator. The face also participates in what psychologists call feedback loops. It does not merely express emotion, it can create it. Experimentally, when subjects are instructed to hold a pen between their teeth, forcing the zygomatic muscles into a pseudo-smile, their emotional state temporarily shifts toward mild positivity. Conversely, deliberately tightening the facial muscles around the eyes can induce stress or vigilance. This is why posture and expression affect mood, not just the other way around. Humans are self-regulating organisms, and expression is part of that regulation. In social environments, these micro signals become one of the ways people detect authenticity. They may not consciously analyze the orbicularis oculi or blink intervals, but their nervous systems pick up the mismatch. This explains why certain individuals are perceived as warm or genuine even without speaking much. They communicate safety through effortless micro expressions that signal congruence between internal state and external output. Others appear off, forced, or polite but not real because their social mask is too tight to allow organic muscle behavior. This interplay between biology and impression management is a core dynamic of adult social life, and it continues silently even in the most ordinary interactions. Among the most interesting forms of impression management is the smile, one of the most recognizable human signals across culture, age, and language. A smile can indicate friendliness, delight, seduction, resignation, embarrassment, gratitude, surrender, or strategic appeasement. Its versatility makes it a preferred social currency, and its ambiguity makes it a powerful tool for navigating social tension. Most people do not smile because they are happy. They smile because they want social interaction to remain smooth. A server smiles to reassure customers that everything is under control. A traveler smiles to soften a request. A student smiles to minimize awkwardness after making a mistake. Employees smile to signal cooperation. Hosts smile to create comfort. These smiles are not lies, they are adaptive strategies. They reduce the likelihood of conflict, ease social friction, and maintain the subtle equilibrium that allows strangers to coexist in tight environments, such as elevators, offices, airports, and classrooms. But the biological consequences of smiling run deeper. Smiling can shorten perceived duration of awkward or uncomfortable social encounters. It signals harmlessness. It tells others, "You don't need to defend yourself against me." This is why even introverts use smiling as a tool to reduce unwanted attention. If they appear friendly, they are less likely to provoke intrusive questioning or suspicion. The paradox is that although smiling exposes vulnerability, it simultaneously protects the social body from further discomfort. Observers tend to interpret smiles in context-sensitive ways. A quick, thin smile may communicate tension. A lingering one may indicate genuine pleasure. Repeated small smiles may signal shyness. Asymmetrical smiles may reflect sarcasm or contempt. People learn these distinctions unconsciously through thousands of interactions. They rarely reflect on them verbally, yet they use them constantly when deciding how to respond to others. When researchers measure real social environments, they find a fascinating trend. People spend significantly more time smiling in public than they do in private. This suggests that smiling is not purely emotional. It is performative, interactive, and regulatory. It modifies the social field the way a thermostat modifies temperature. It reduces the cost of coexistence. It accelerates bonding. And in some cases, it conceals psychological exhaustion. The problem arises when smiling becomes a chronic mask. When someone constantly presents positivity to cover loneliness, or when they offer warmth to avoid disappointing others, the nervous system absorbs the cost. The facial muscles adapt, but the inner world becomes muted. Many adults who seem cheerful in social settings confess privately that they feel unseen, misunderstood, or emotionally tired. Their smile maintains social peace, but at the price of personal authenticity. Yet despite these tensions, the smile remains one of humanity's most efficient tools for survival and connection. It softens the world just enough to make daily life bearable. Beneath the subtle choreography of expression lies a deeper psychological engine, the fear of evaluation. Humans are intensely sensitive to how they are perceived. In tribal environments, reputation determined whether others would protect you, cooperate with you, or exclude you. Exclusion meant vulnerability. Vulnerability meant death. Modern society has eliminated the physical danger, but the nervous system never received that update. So people still fear judgment as if their survival depends on it. This fear manifests in subtle behaviors. Overthinking what to say, rehearsing social interactions in advance, adjusting tone, suppressing opinions, smiling more than necessary, or carefully curating an online persona. The goal is not perfection, it is protection. If people judge us kindly, we gain belonging. If they judge us poorly, we risk social distance. The complexity increases because people are not simply afraid of being disliked. They are afraid of being misunderstood. Being disliked feels bad, but being misunderstood feels existential. It invalidates identity. This is why individuals often reveal more of their inner world to strangers online than to colleagues or family. They expect less judgment and more neutrality. Ironically, anonymity can produce more authenticity than intimacy. The fear of judgment also explains why people tend to imitate the social norms of their group. If everyone speaks politely, they do the same. If everyone displays confidence, they inflate their posture. If humor is valued, they joke. These spontaneous adaptations are not weakness. They are evolutionary strategies for maintaining group cohesion. The nervous system constantly calculates, what do I need to do to remain safe here? However, chronic self-monitoring can become exhausting. Individuals who constantly scan for social risk, people pleasers, perfectionists, high achievers, introverts, and socially anxious personalities often spend more energy navigating impression than living their lives. Their nervous systems remain in a low-grade state of hypervigilance, leading to fatigue, emotional numbing, or avoidance of social environments. Many describe the experience not as shyness, but as over-awareness. Yet the truth is that others are not judging nearly as harshly as people expect. Most observers are preoccupied with managing their own image. Everyone is busy performing. Everyone is busy scanning. Everyone is busy worrying about being misunderstood. In that sense, the modern social environment is a stage where all actors believe the spotlight is on them, even though the audience is focused on itself. All of these dynamics lead to a fundamental paradox of adult social life. The desire to be liked often conflicts with the desire to be real. To be liked, you must adjust. To be real, you must reveal. But revealing carries risk, and adjusting carries emotional cost. This creates a psychological split between the presented self and the private self. The presented self is optimized for social efficiency, polite, composed, agreeable, and consistent. The private self is chaotic, full of contradictions, fears, desires, insecurities, and unpolished truths. Integration between the two is rare. Most people choose one of three strategies. 1. Prioritize social acceptance. They curate themselves, maintain peace, avoid conflict, and accumulate social approval at the expense of inner authenticity. 2. Prioritize authenticity. They speak bluntly, refuse to perform, reveal their inner world, and accept that some people will withdraw. 3. Strategic hybrid. They reveal selectively, authentic with a few, performative with many, and balanced enough to survive in both worlds. Psychologists argue that the third strategy is the healthiest. Total authenticity can become socially abrasive. Total performance can become psychologically hollow. Healthy adults learn to adjust without abandoning themselves. Interestingly, the rise of digital life complicates this further. Online personas are curated. But digital communication also allows unusually honest expression. People confess, journal, reflect, and reveal with less inhibition. The internet exposes a contradiction. Humans crave realness, yet they construct illusions. The deepest irony is that the very thing people are afraid to reveal, imperfection, insecurity, confusion, is what actually creates connection. Vulnerability signals humanity, yet people suppress it because they fear it will repel others. Thus the paradox persists. Humans hide the very traits that would make them feel less alone.